Well, organised labour unions are planning mass strikes countrywide following wage negotiation deadlocks. Today, as you just heard, Cosatu called for strike action, calling on the government to fix the country's economic mess. NUMSA members took to the streets earlier this week after failing to secure an 8% wage increase. But does strike action actually work? Professor Lucien van der Walt from Rhodes University joins me now from Makhanda in the Eastern Cape for more. Thanks for your time, Prof. So let's focus on the national stay away first, which happened today. Does that have any impact in the fight for higher salaries, fighting corruption, getting rid of labour brokers? And I ask you this because this has been happening for years, and we're striking for the same thing over and over and over.
All right. I think strikes do matter. They're a way that workers can flex their muscles a bit and express themselves collectively. So I think they do matter, and if they didn't, people wouldn't be doing them. People who are in unions generally earn more than people who aren't in unions, and striking at this time of the year near the elections is also a way that workers can put a bit of pressure on politicians.
And what does a one-day stay away mean for the economy? What impact does it have?
Well, it really depends how strong the strike will be. The NUMSA metal workers strike is having a very direct and concrete impact. It's already wiped off millions on the stocks of ArcelorMittal. The Cosatu one is a bit harder to predict. The Union Federation is unable to completely close down the economy as it did back in the 90s, but it's certainly going to do something noticeable.
You know, the Cosatu's affiliation to the ANC going out today saying we're not happy with the ANC-led government, but still vote for the ANC. That is something that many people will question about whether or not this trade union federation is effective in getting its message across, because it is contradicting itself.
Look, I agree there. I think while there were a lot of good reasons for Cosatu to support the African National Congress during the transition, and they won many things, for example, really one of the best bills of labor rights in the world. In a time a lot of the world was gutting trade unions, smashing workers' organizations, rolling back the law, Cosatu did win a lot. But subsequently, especially as the ANC has developed, Cosatu's put itself in a bit of a bind. On the one side, it will march against corruption, it will march against austerity, it will march against a rollback of collective bargaining. The other side, it will ask people to vote for the self-same party, which is doing those things. And I think this is a problem Cosatu needs to deal with. They're stuck in a bit of a position of the lesser evil. That is, the ANC is preferable to what else is out there. But in order to maintain that alliance with the ANC, they have to compromise on a lot of issues.
Does long mass action actually threaten job security? I know you mentioned that it is effective, like we saw with NUMSA this week. But employers came out saying, well, we're still operating, so we're not running at a loss, but that's showing something else in the JSE. Is it threatening job security? Because that's what we're hearing from employers.
Well, look, the reason we're having these strikes is quite clear. I mean, there's a lot of pressure on workers. Unemployment has risen. There were wage freezes in a lot of sectors last year, including in the government sector. Workers are supporting a lot of other people as well. But the thing is, South Africa is in a major economic crisis. This preceded COVID. We're already at 10 million jobs then. And the problem we've got is while the country does create jobs, it's not creating more jobs. So we have a limited pool of jobs, and the tendency of employers, including in the government as an employer, is to replace good jobs with bad jobs. And that's why these strikes are inevitable. Unfortunately, our economy is on a trajectory where it's been shedding jobs for a long time, and I think we really need to think of a new type of growth path. And that, I think, is what Cosatu is trying to raise here.
A new type of growth path, yet this government has been talking about a very similar type of growth path for the past couple of years. What is your suggestion?
Well, look, my own view is that unions can be political, but they should be independent of political parties. I think they need autonomy, and I think they need independence. And they're in a stronger position to push for their own alternative agendas there. That's the first thing. I think, secondly, we do need to move away from the current model, which is based on opening the economy to free trade, which means a lot of cheap goods come into the country, which we can't compete with. We need to move away from models where Profits are built on the base of low wages rather than skilling up workers. And I think we need to look at ways to create employment creatively. For example, looking at things around cooperatives, looking at labor-intensive construction, labor-intensive reconstruction of poor areas. Now, I don't have a simple solution. I think the best thing for the unions at the moment is to put their foot down, actually. In the first place, defend collective bargaining, reorganize their structures, rejuvenate themselves, and then we can start to talk more seriously about alternatives. One of those things will be that unions, I think, do need to rebuild alliances that they used to have with communities. They do need to broaden their demands and from simply issues around jobs and job security and win a wider public over for a program that can really change the country in positive ways.
All right. Thank you so much for your insight, Professor Lucien van der Walt from Rhodes University.